All right, I'm gonna use myself as the example. Bob holds Katie's hand. Wait, that's not a thing. Okay, there we go. All right, so if you can see it, Bob holds Katie's hand. Okay, and then Bob kisses Katie. Okay, and then Bob and Katie kind of accelerate in their relationship. They become even closer. They talk even more. Right? Bob comes over for dinner one evening. This is the progression of their relationship. Right? Bob and Katie get to know one another. Okay, so Bob writes himself on Katie's life. Right? Bob becomes a part of my existence. Right? So Bob is making his mark. Bob's making his mark on me. And then here's what's happened. Here's what happens. Bob says, Katie, wait, it's upside down. I'll have to. Bob says, Katie, I love you. Okay, that's a heart. That's my normal artistic skills. Okay, Bob says, Katie, I love you. And here's what's happened. Bob and Katie are now connected by love. Bam. Okay, right, they're together. Right, they made a mark on one another's lives. And we're going to put that there. We're going to remember Bob and Katie forever and ever, right? They're together. They're 16 and 17 years old. Bob just got his driver's license. It's so exciting. They've been going on real dates now without mom and dad. But they love each other. They love each other. So, right, Bob and Katie, they're together. They're just going to hug and kiss. I'm just going to make it together. Now, while Bob and Katie are hanging out in a little construction paper love fest, I want y'all to think for just a second about something really cool, okay? And if this doesn't put things into perspective, I don't know what will. I need you two to come up here, okay? Now, Victor and Ashley, okay? They're going to stand here. Okay, these are our visual examples, right? Victor, I want you to get down on them.
Oh, I look for that.
Victor, Ashley. Not really, not yet. Okay, what is this motion? What is this motion? What is Victor just shit up? Right? Victor, right, stay with me, we're almost done. Victor has gotten down on one knee. Victor has made himself shorter than Ashley. That's a big thing. Height has something to do with it, right? Victor has chosen to get down on one knee and to literally humble himself in front of this woman. Okay? Okay, Victor has humbled himself. Victor has humbled himself, right? This is a motion that happens when a man proposes to a woman, right? The guy, gentlemen, don't ever propose to a woman and not get down on one knee. It is the stupidest thing you can possibly do. And make sure you have a ring, and make sure it's nice. Okay? Victor has chosen to humble himself in front of her. When else do we make this motion? Besides time, when you genuflect in church. Genuflect. During Mass, right? You walk into a church, and bam, down you go, cross yourself, right? That is a motion of humility. That is saying to Jesus Christ, present in the Eucharist, you are so great that I have to get down on my knees to honor you. You are so awesome and powerful, and y'all can sit down now. You are so magnificent, God, that I don't want to stand because I can't. I have to fall to my knees. It's in Scripture, right? Every knee shall bend. Every knee shall bend in the whole world of Christ is present. Right? So we genuflect, and then a guy gets down on one knee to propose. And to say to a woman, I love you, and I want to be with you for the rest of my life. I want to gift myself to you and consciously will the good for you and respond to the value intrinsic within you. Right? He gets down on one knee, becomes shorter than her, humbles himself to the point of being below her, beneath her, and saying, you reorder my life. Take notes, guys. This is good proposal material, right? You hold me in existence, right? You are everything to me. Right? He humbles himself. How does a woman humble herself? She says yes. Right? She says, I will be your wife, and I will take you into my life. Right? The man gives, the woman receives. Right? I will take you into my life. And I will be good to you, right? I will cook, I will clean, I will bear your children, right? I will bear your children. The woman, ladies, this is the coolest thing about femalehood, right? We get to carry two souls within us at once, right? When we're pregnant and none of you should be right now, right? But when we're pregnant, right, we carry two lives. Our own life and the life of a woman, the life of a child, right? Our soul and the child's soul. How is that soul given to us? By God. Why does God give the soul? Because the child is conceived. How is the child conceived? Well, we're not in biology class, right? But right, there's love experience between the two, okay? So the man genuflects in front of the woman and says, I humble myself in front of you. And the woman says yes, and she takes upon her the responsibility of bringing that man's children into the world. All right? Every time you go out on a date, and I'm dead serious about this, every time you go out on a date, guys, you should ask yourself the question, am I willing to one day genuflect in front of this woman and ask her to take me for the rest of my life and be good to me? Am I willing to humble myself in the sight of this woman because she is so great? Right? Guys, ask yourself that question. Women, ask yourself this question. Am I willing, and I'm dead serious, am I willing to one day carry this man's child in me for 9 months and then bring that child into the world and love and take care of that child for 18 years? I'll get to you in just a second. Okay? Guys, am I willing to genuflect in front of this woman one day? Ladies, am I willing to one day carry this man's child? If you think that's a really serious question to be asking yourself at 16 years old, well, it is. And if you're not willing to ask yourself that question every time you go out on a date, then don't go out on a date, right? That doesn't mean you don't ever look at boys. That doesn't mean you don't ever look at girls. That doesn't mean you don't have friends that are guys and girls. But it means that you choose not to bind yourself in a relationship like this, right? What happens, and I don't know if we had enough time for it to work, right? But Bob and Katie got together, and they expressed their love for one another, right? They were in a relationship. They committed themselves to one another. Bob said, one day I'm willing to genuflect in front of you. Katie said, one day I'm willing to bear your children. And then, uh-oh, bad fight. Bob did something really wrong. Bob cheated on Katie, which is not good. Bob said, he lied about the cheating. Katie believed him, and then a few weeks later, one of her best friends tells her, he cheated, right? So something bad happens, and this relationship gets all screwed up. They try and work it out. Things are just really, really bad. But then they decide it's time to break up, right? So you got Katie, heartbroken, Bob, really mad at himself. So they try and break up. Okay, it didn't work. We're just going to create it, okay? It worked earlier, and I threw that example away, right? But normally, if we have enough time, right, Bob and Katie become stuck to one another, right? Katie is always on Bob's life. Bob is always on Katie's life. The next thing you know, they can never live in this world without remembering that other person, right? Because they have attached themselves to them. Because they've made that person a focus of their life. Too early. Too early, right? Every time you go out on a date, you should ask yourself that question. Am I willing to genuflect in front of this woman one day? Am I willing to carry this man's child one day? And if you think it's too serious to ask that question, then don't ask yourself the question just by not going on the date. You can still be friends with them. You can still talk to them, right? But the flip side of things, right? The going out with only that person every Friday night, the only exclusively ever being with that person all the time, right? That's not good. Right now is the opportunity to find yourself. Right now is the chance that you have to get to know who you are. Who am I? Who am I? And in the workshop I'm doing later this afternoon, if you want to come back, we're going to talk about how to figure that out. How do you figure out self, okay? How do you figure out being yourself, right? But if you're not willing to ask those questions, if you're not willing to do that for the other person, it's not time to date. Final thing. Okay, final thing, and then we can get out of this hot room. Every relationship that you're in, and I'm going to launch myself into the concept of when you're in college, right, you're in a relationship, a committed relationship with another person that you like a lot and that you can see yourself one day genuflecting to, or one day carrying his child, okay? You have to ask yourself two questions. And these two questions have to be answered yes. Otherwise, you get out of the relationship. Question number one, does this person make me better? Do they make me more virtuous? Do they make me kinder? Do they make me honest? Do they make me happy, right? Am I nice to people when this person is around me? Or do I cut myself off from the world and only want to pay attention to them? I've got tunnel vision towards this person, right? So do they make me a better person? And number two, do they draw me closer to God? Marriage is ultimately not about having sex or having kids, right? That's part of it. Marriage is about getting the other person to heaven, right? I marry somebody and he marries me, so that one day we can attain holiness and sanctity, and we can feast upon the face of God in heaven. All right? The only way that I'm going to become holy is if I'm in a relationship with a person that makes me better, that makes me more virtuous, and if that person draws me closer to God. Okay. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to stay behind and talk to me afterwards. I'm selling these t-shirts outside, $15. I'd love it if you had one. We're trying to spread them all around the state. I have another workshop this afternoon. It's on being yourself. It's in the second round. If you want to come back, I'd love to see you. So thank you all so much for your attention. Have a great night.